coming out from Zenith, let them sit for too long, and apparently all that, like, they're almost like that angry chihuahua that's like barking at the door that wants to just get out, and they're like, I want to go. And the longer they sit there, just the more vicious they become.
I was there for Game 4, Week 2 of PCS3. I just want to say that. I was there for the Taggleton seat swap. I was there for the bomb fight at the end. I was there for the North Shift. That was a game that I feel like I'm going to remember for a long time.
This isn't fair. Like, okay, I'm having to do that YouTube thing. Well, I'm not having to. I'm enjoying doing the YouTube thing where like we're breaking down one play per week. There was like 2 big plays in that game alone, and every single ending today has been like phenomenal. I have no idea what I'm picking to break down. And
my favorite part was going into that game. We were talking, and you were like, I wonder what play I should do this week. I don't know if I've seen anything truly epic. And now it's like, which one do I pick out of that game? Like, that game was wild. So I'm over the moon right now as we go into match 5.
Yeah, I'll be real. I was busy talking to you and still excited about the last game. I missed Blame Path. Did you catch it?
Yeah, it's sort of in that area there to the southish middle.
Yeah, look, Northern Circle. Northern Circle. That's all that matters. It's Northern Circle.
Thanks, Fuzzy Seal. It was south-north, right across the Snofka, up by Stalber. You're the real MVP observer. Hey, by the way, I'm going to add another by the way because it's a big deal. Shout out to Little Fuzzy Seal. That whole game, including the seat swaps and all that stuff, was only as awesome as it was because he caught all of it, Matcham.
Yes.
That was lit. That's all.
I massive respect to Seal, and even tolerating all of our randomness. If you remember, he even had to just try to figure out. He had to watch a bridge for a second because we wouldn't shut up about a bridge. So thank you, Seal. We love you.
That game did start with us staring at a tire, didn't it?
It did.
Wow, what a journey.
Oh, well, speaking of journeys, poor T8, one eye open. You got a hefty one in front of you. Going all the way back over towards the north, but let's be real. There's going to be plenty of options. The circle it's got Georgia Bull. This circle still has Zarky in it, Toffees.
I know, right?
Could this be the mythical Zarky game?
Could this be the mythical Luminosity rotation for Tactical 8? Will they get a boat and drive all the way to Zarky? The dream is real. I don't know if you remember that. God, that was a long time ago.
If we get a Zarky ending today to finish this out, this will probably be one of my favorite days of PUBG that we've had in a while. I don't know what it is, but this lobby is just bringing it, man.
It's one of my favorite days. I have very much enjoyed casting with you so far, Matchroom. It has been an absolute ball. So I don't know if it's because the end of the circles have been so much fun, or perhaps because we're having so much fun with the end of the circles, but it is a damn fine time. Let's check in with Duel as they loot up the farm.
Oh, all of the interesting action that's happening around them. They're running a fairly separated split. They've got a couple of members back over towards Milta as well. Oath back over towards the east, Liberate towards the north, and I believe, who's that? Fabled back towards their west. None of these teams inside of Circle, though, so all of them going to have to move relatively soon. A lot of early rotations. No surprise. This is what we talk about the reactionary based off of the last game. Remember how everybody was really slow to move to the north inside the last game? Notice that's not happening this time. People are like, screw that. I don't want to do that again.
I keep waiting for Zenith to go to the south of the river just to like prove a point. Grab a compound there and be like, listen, we know where the shifts go. That said, though, go ahead.
Sure. At this point, sure, Zenith. I'll give it to you.
It could be anything. That said, TC has a very wide spread out on the left side of the map. Virtue on the rotation. They went to the compound that Zenith won out of right away because it is dead center. It's a great spot. But again, if this circle shifts to the south and puts that river right in the middle, then all bets are off, and we're going to have yet another Wildman match.
Sonics now leaving Pachinki this time around. Remember, we talked about it was interesting that they were choosing to hold down that location. Apparently deciding the fact that maybe staying for a little bit too long last game kind of bit them a little bit. Oh, no, trees!
Oh,
what are you doing, H-Win?
Do a flip!
Do a flip. See, you could have done a flip there.
We've been asking for stunts. H-Win provides.
Everybody's trying to get ready. They're looking at their map, or they're trying to get ready to seat swap. You can call it right now. Like, look at them. They're just driving straight at Everest to say, like, okay, where are we going to go? Luke, here's what's going on. He's like, nah, I don't want a part of whatever's happening over here. He's going to separate out and go back down the hillside where his teammates are waiting for him. Lobes is not around position. Sonics are going to get that high ground advantage with vision for days. Literal miles coming up here. Well, okay, let's say kilometers.
Nice extraction by Luke, though. He just sat there. He played the scout role, and once it was threatened, he had the exit strategy planned. And he knows where the safe rotation is because of it. So, again, that is hard shifts for me. That's the way that they play. Smart. Don't take the fight if it's unnecessary. There's a bunch of other teams that if somebody had been up on that hill, they would have shot at him.
So apparently everybody's decided this is the place to be.
Oh my.
And you can see Veritas running back over here next to Virtue.
My worst
Looks like
nightmare.
the numbers advantage was in Veritas's favor, but the reinforcements now come over for Virtue. So we're going to figure out who is going to be the actual V for Vendetta right now, as they're going to be able to take down one of these teams. Matty Lowell is one of the first ones to go down inside of the skirmish. Actually, the first one. Molotov's coming back over towards the window, but Veritas doesn't have a lot of angles to play from, but they're somehow managing to make this work.
Oh, that bathroom had all kinds of great stuff in it. That was a big win on that loot spot. Evasion up to the roof, looking to find an angle as all hell breaks loose. Evasion going through the window, but he's on the top. They left someone on the hill, too exposed.
Yeah, I think that was a little bit greedy coming out for the angle. Still just trying to focus back in towards the window. Super and Tanaka trying to figure out how they're going to get something out of this one. Looks like they might try to play it a little bit more aggressive. So maybe somebody's going to be going for that res. Doesn't quite connect with the shots back over towards it. So Super still playing back over towards the smokes. Realize he might be a touch too vulnerable based off of that positioning. But it also could have unlocked a couple of different firing angles. Tanaka has himself one hell of a toy to play with in close range. If this guy can get an angle back over towards that team, it's going to be trouble coming up for Veritas.
Veritas and Virtue going head-to-head. We've dreaded this day for a long time, Bantram, as it looks like they are going to push into the house, and he's going to be alone in this defense because of the res.
Oh, can he hold the line? He's got bullets for days. Super gets one of them down. Goes for the peek back around it. He does go down, but Tanaka's trying to get the spray from the other side. Quick jump back out from the teammates, seeing if maybe they can get a little bit more space onto it. Dietrich's playing back on that low angle, gets a little bit of damage back over towards Evasion. Continual harassment coming out from Tanaka, but the res looks like it could come through. Off in the distance, it looks like the hardships could be hearing this firefight. Do not want to opt into it because they're still running a 2-2 split. Evasion connects with a couple more shots back over onto this, so now slowly and steadily getting more and more control of this lower area. You can see it's going to be Virtue, as Veritas have just continually switched from building to building inside this firefight.
I respect Evasion really trying to get the save here on his teammate and get up those stairs. I don't know if it's going to work. They're just holding very, very aggressively as Evasion crosses the stairwell yet again. Very ballsy play.
Evasion's got to play this fairly carefully. Trying to do a little bit of a peek back and forth. It's all about Keenan and Jazza. They've got the angles to play around, but they don't want to play it too much. Super slowly bleeding out off from this point. Doesn't look like anybody wants to push up quite yet. They might lean into a double up push, but instead, not quite finding it. You can see that Super's trying to do a little bit of a sneak peek out of the side of this. A couple shots going to go through it. A quick pickup. Veritas comes out just narrowly. Look at those health bars. That could have been a catastrophe for them, but hit the shots whenever it mattered at the end of the fight.
You know, that's just a hard place to push, and you got to wonder if maybe pulling off and just waiting or just leaving would have been a better option. But you said who gets the V in Vendetta, who gets the V for victory? That's going to be Virtue that comes out on top.
Oh, but look, hard shifts. Hear everything that's going on. Liberate, here's what's going on. And Maluk is paying attention. You know that Maluk is monitoring that kill feed and knows exactly what's happening. That might get switched back over. The only problem is the rest of the hard shifts can't really get over there. Chuppa's in a lot of trouble as he's connected back over next to Clueless and Sonics. Rumblers, meanwhile, you can see have found themselves in an interesting spot. They've got Ascendance cross from them. This is going to be Waldo that's just kind of camping out in that position right now.
For what it's worth, Veritas came out on top. I said Virtue because my brain can't even deal with it at this point. It's been a long day, but we wanted to correct that. Let's go to Ascendance Esports as they lock down this building and get into a bit of a staring match with, it looks like, the Rumblers.
Well, the Rumbler, I should say.
The Rumbler, fair enough.
There is one left. And let's go ahead and give us a shift back over towards the north. Okay, look, let's be real. Let's be real, Zenith. I feel like Zenith could just go outside and into like the blue zone right now, and the circle somehow would follow them.
That's pretty funny, actually. So, okay, fair enough. They are in a great spot. That said, the circle at 4 will move away from the water, so Zenith probably not in as good of a spot as they were last time, but still pretty fantastical that they made that rotation and yet again found themselves in the middle of the circle.
Yeah, okay, there's a lot of water that's inside the circle, but it's not the scariest of circles. But it is a little bit scary if you're going to be trying to drive out with Ice Tech right on top. Next with about half damage back over towards Overham, but does manage to get away, all things considered. Liberate slowly starting to stretch their legs back down this hillside, but there are a lot of things to shoot at. They've got Gravity rolling up on one angle, Fabled back over towards another, Ascendance. They don't really have clear sight lines back over towards, but Zenith has decided the fact that they want to get a little bit more involved in what's happening over here towards the north. Is Fabled trying to roll up onto them, loses one, and now instead has to do a damage roll back over next to Severny. But there's another team that's eyeing Severny, and that's going to be Oath.
It's just not a town you want to be in, even with this circle, because there's not going to be a lot of options to come out of it when the next shift comes through. Hardshift's probably going to be pretty happy with their location. Let's check in. Fable has to get the heels off, but honestly, I think they'll be able to just sit here for a while.
Yeah, this is a pretty safe point whenever you do the separation across Severny, using the roads to kind of separate out. There's really 3 different quadrants that can hold down 3 different teams, and we've seen that happen different times. Also, there's the outer wall back over towards the east of Severny that people can play, like the little dip, trench, whatever you want to call it. Looks like Hardships have decided the fact that they are going to step back over next to Veritas and take this complex. They should be able to get the res out. I knew that this was going to happen after a period of time. I just didn't know exactly how long it was going to be, but in the end, the big fight for, I guess, supremacy of V ends up not being favorable towards either one of the teams as they both end up going down. Waldo now finding himself in a similar predicament as what we saw just a second ago, now trying to figure out how he's going to handle this. Looks like he's going to just keep on burning utility towards himself. That's fine. Nobody saw that.
Nobody expects this. Nobody expects a self flash.
I know. That's the big play to come out from there. Maybe try to do a little bit of flank back around. Get spotted by 2 off of the drop. I like the idea behind the play, but man, Ascendance was just watching the angle, waiting for it.
And I think that that's a lesson to be learned. First off, yes, he died, but I respect Waldo's play there because he took control of his own destiny. He could have just waited for them to push the stairs and get their planning oriented. Instead, he chose to try to make a play, and it could have worked out in his favor, especially if one of the players had already been sort of preparing for the stairs breach. And I like that. I like when players take control of their own destiny.
Same. Looks like One Eye Open has decided the fact that they're going to be playing back over towards the east of Severny. Nearest neighbors towards them are going to be a 2-2 split coming up from Duel that are going to be back over towards their south. But Duel's presently still caught up taking shots over towards Ascendance, where we just saw the last member of the Rumblers die at. So most of the teams, I mean, they all have space to work with. Whenever you're looking at a circle like this, everybody's got their own little control points that they can play around. And there's plenty of space still to be carved out. The big factor is that there's still water inside the circle. So most likely, not a big shift going to have to come out for too many of these teams. Maybe just a couple of them that are playing like the middle, west, and east. So specifically teams like T8. Yeah, I was going to say like T8. There you go. T8's going to have to be the team that's going to have to move. Sonics as well as the hard shifts after finally claiming victory over the complex that has been fought over for 2 games.
Circle. What is Zenith? What kind of black magic are they practicing?
I don't even know.
Like even with
look at.
Go ahead.
I was
even with the water shift, they're gonna get the circle. Like I don't know. Maybe not. Like it's still a shot. It could go east, but it's just wild.
Oh no, Zealot! This is not the angle you want to drive along right now, good sir. Managed to get a little bit further down there and get some different distance. I mean, Zenith, you can say like after the last game, it's like we had to sit there so long. We want to kill everyone around us.
I mean, I feel for Tactical 8. They've been driving for almost 15 to 20 minutes now, trying to figure out how to get to the north. They finally show up, and their only option is to take their flaming cars into Severny.
Well, they chose the safe third. Remember the fact that we saw it broken down into different sectors. So the safe third is the one that they managed to claim. Steezy looking back over towards William, who's in a lot of trouble. Let's be real. Yep, he's going to go ahead and go down. Not a lot of options that can come out from them. Zenith still looking caught up at T8's movement. I don't know if they saw Clueless come up back behind them, though. Who is now taking a little bit more of an aggressive position back over towards Zenith, who was taking those shots. A couple do connect. I believe it was with Roth, and force him to play back along that window. So you're going to at least force Zenith to play a little bit more defensively. Meanwhile, to the south, Toffees. Yeah, the south is kind of a mess.
It is a mess. The hard shifts are popping at it looks like Liberate that tried to pass them at the same time that Sonics are at war just below them in the shooting range. So the hard shifts do take some pop-offs. They're now going to try to rotate away, but the Sonics down below them are nested in with opponents. Like the shooting range is more contested than I think I've seen it in a while.
There are 2 teams. There are 2 teams inside of shooting range. It's just their colors are very similar. You can see that is Gravity and Sonics fighting. While along the hillside, there are 3 other teams trying to contest it out. Gravity is trying to contest back over towards Sonics, and I love you, Gravity, but that's a difficult task to try to put upon yourself. Zilverin is still alive, trying to get the res back over for his teammates. Meanwhile, you can see Sonics have had a lot of damage inflicted back over towards a Mime, looking back over towards Tig, going for the res as well. Firefight still happening as hard shifts are still running in a little bit of damage, trying to find an angle to work with. Back around this, it's also going to be Pros Don't Stake and Liberate that all have firing lines to work around inside of this, I guess, 2v2 situation we're looking at. Oh, no. Sorry, 2v3. I did not see Shrimsy out in the distance.
Yeah, he was doing a good job of covering the window while they extracted the crawler from that angle so they could get a safe res on the other side of the window. So, like, there's no potential to get mollied there. It was a very clean play, well executed by the Sonics. And that's what they do best. They frag, but they are also very smart.
Yeah, I mean, they're just so fluid with their movement. Whenever they decide to get aggressive, you can see that they push from so many different angles. There's not a lot of options for the teammates to play around, or the enemy team to play around. Quick spray coming out there from mine. You can see that gets the damage, resets back, feeds over the information, allows the rest of the team to try to reposition around it. It's just a constant onslaught of different angles to try to work around. Sure, they get Shrimsy down finally, but at the cost of losing their last remaining team member. So now Shrimsy, I don't know. Can they raise him? This is going to be a lot. I don't know. They're throwing out smokes like they want to, but I think that if they go for that, there's too many teams that are going to be able to shoot them. Well, they seem to have a difference of opinion, and they're just rolling it over.
What a fascinating smoke.
It's a distractionary smoke. Look, I'm going to run through here instead. I'm just going to take the car and drive through.
Oh, that's hilarious. Maluk wants to run him over.
Well, Maluk's like, oh, I see what your plan is, and I've got a plan of my own. He's going to roll right up back behind him. I think that he's realized it's taken too long. He looks like he was doing the countdown as he was making his way through here and now knows he's moving into a 2v1 situation. Luke's at half-life himself. Has to play this carefully. Notice the reposition along the wall. I believe it's Mime that's going to have a different angle to work around for Maluk. Maluk wanted this kill. They wanted to stack up more points, specifically trying to inflict damage back over towards Sonics. But I think that the cost might be a little bit too high.
Yeah. I think maybe a different team it would have been effective on, but Tiggleton not slowing down. Shrimsy and him just flex out as a two-pronged spear, and they start to close down the scissors and just cut Maluk off at the knees. He is done and dusted as Sonics are just playing their brains out here at the firing range.
Already at 4 kills at this stage of the game. You can see Hardships now got their 3 members still playing back along that lower section. Dual reposition back over from the east, coming in back around the south. I believe almost every team is fairly comfortable given positions in what we're looking at. One Eye Open's playing on the outside, looking back over towards Pat Caps, who was separated out from Oath, who is now contested a little bit. That bottom little sector is a little bit problematic, but you can see that Clueless is still trying to aggress back over towards Zenith's position. And Clueless is having to contend with that every circle. Love Zenith has got the team on the outside trying to figure out some way to carve around this position.
Nick 101 making the pops. Everyone focused on Zenith as always. They do manage to stay in the circle, but just barely. But I think this is not a bad one to sort of stay in at the edge, right? Because they can let it close. They can get an idea of where TC is going. And they can make a back push if they need to. Team Clueless in Nick's position, though, is very, very strong, and they're going to be happy that they were able to get their hands on that. Liberate also in a pretty good spot as they are just off of the shooting range over by the bunkers, and they will very likely be able to play that for at least one more circle close. Let's see. Ascendant is in the crossroads. Not a bad position either, but Severity, what are the chances the circle goes there, Atram?
I would love it to happen, but because I want it to happen, it probably won't. I know that my luck holds out to a certain point. So we've got like 3 different, I guess, skirmish areas that we're looking at. We've got the Zenith Clueless fight, we've got shooting range, and we've got Serverny. Yep. Really, Duel and Ascendants aren't taking shots at each other. Duel and Hardships are just kind of content. Hardships can kind of oversee what's happening at shooting range, but it's all kind of calmed down, as you can see. Even the 2-2 split coming out from Clueless is buying them a little bit more territory and space. Everybody's just waiting to move if they have to, I feel is like what's going on, Tom.
100%. Circles closing. Everyone's licking their wounds, probably boosting, getting ready for the potential for absolute chaos. This isn't even a load up in the car, get ready to move circle. This is a pray that you don't get stuck. And Zenith kind of gets stuck here. It's a very hard rotation for them. TC has a hilltop. They can wait for the blue to close and then slide down to the shack below them and just wait out Zenith, unfortunately.
Here comes a quick reposition from Duel. Penta takes a ton of damage back over towards the face. Looks like they might decide just to go ahead and crash this one, realizing that they don't have enough information on what's playing over towards the north. Instead, realizing nobody's playing the other side of this complex. Good heads-up move. I feel like that's a call probably coming out from the first 2 players. I don't know if it was Penta or the team that was right back behind, or the player that was right back behind him, but good reposition. Now there's a firm defensive line back over towards the south. So teams like Hardships find themselves in a lot of trouble. Pros don't snake, Sonics also having to move, as well as Clueless and Zenith. With Severny still being in circle, thank you, PUBG gods. Looks like we're starting to see a couple of teams trying to push back that direction, and it's going to be Clueless running again right next to Zenith.
Yeah, bold play by Clueless. I think they saw Zenith start to load up and said, we can beat them there, and they do. They get a better spot. Zenith has to come in on the very edge. They should be able to make it in, too, without too much threat as they try to get up onto the rooftop.
Well, they
Bold
crashed
play.
right over next to where Fabled is at. So
Yeah.
now Fabled's having to contend with a very aggressive neighbor, as it looks like you can see Fabled realizing the fact that all of the members managed to make it safely back over to here. So trying to play this a little bit more safe. Go ahead and get in the throwables first. With everything that's going back on, you can see that the pros don't snake, do get eliminated as Sonics do manage to pick them up. Just 2 members still alive for that team. They're not even inside the safe zone yet, but let's stick on what we've got right now. As Zenith's still trying to play around the outskirts of this. Gregshot's playing a little bit more aggressive, but I love the use of the wall coming up from Zenith Esports.
Yeah. I mean, Fable, nobody plans on 2 teams crashing you on the short side out of nowhere. So Fable's sort of just playing catch up and doing the best they can with what they have. Kickstart using those grenades, causing a lot of trouble for Rip as he bobs, weaves, prays, and burns.
Fire.
Dives into a house for a little bit of help, but maybe Greg can get there for the res, but I don't think Kick will allow him the space.
There's a big problem that's happening. Gregshot's in a very aggressive position, and Hella's playing the outskirts of this, trying to be like a secondary fighter, trying to assist from this outside angle. Because he does hit the shots back over towards Kickstart, but Zenith can firmly regroup and get these reses very quickly. Gregshot cannot go back after Rip. He's too close to the enemy. Hella can't reposition back around over that angle either. Looks like Gregshot's just going to finally decide to throw out a ton of utility and make the run over, hoping that maybe Zenith is trying to get the play out, and that looks like what they're going to do. But now notice, Fable no longer has a front line. Zenith has the authority and the ability to move through this as they wish.
I think you'll see Fabled move down towards Hella as soon as they get that res, and it may be allowed because TC is causing some trouble for Zenith as they try to get up on that high ground to take pot shots. The shared intersection between Ascendant and Duel still occupied down there, and honestly, if the circle goes south right here, all hell will break loose. It does. This is interesting.
Give us a little bit of Severny. Give us a little bit of the place that nobody wants to play. Because this area, just on the outside, is horrible to try to play around. And dude, Pat, look at this. Patience coming out, not making a move. Waiting to see if Stacey's just on the other side, also trying to get information. This is just waiting to have problems happen around it. Oh, look at the plays coming out as Hella's trying to hold back over Kickstart, and he goes down yet again. Zenith goes for the reposition back over towards us, but has to be careful. There are so many third-party shots coming in. Based off the reposition where Zenith's playing at, that's actually Sonics that are taking the shots back over towards them. We're also going to have to see Clueless make their way back over towards the south, where we already see T8 and Oath holding the positions at. One Eye Open is playing back over towards the east and has a lot of different angles that they can make play for. You can see Clueless, hearing the repositions coming out from Zenith, has decided to cross the road now, go ahead and get away from the contained fight that's down to the south of them.
By the way, Pat Caps waited. Steezy walked in. He is dead now. Pat Caps wins that camp out. As we watch Gregshot and Rip the res, Hella was sacrificed essentially for them to make this happen. They're going to try to move into a more defensible attic.
All right, so things to note where we can see Gregshot's playing the position at where Rip's back behind him. Gregshot is inside the safe zone. Zenith is not yet. Clueless is not yet either. Back over towards the south, you can see that Liberate's trying to make a play back over next to Duel. Duel's trying to hold it the best they can, but there's just too many different firing angles. One member is still up for Liberate, but it looks like Ascendance is going to try to make a play based off of that. Gregshot still just trying to hold the line back over towards Zenith. Does get the shots back over towards Shinboy. Tries to go for the step out onto this one, but Kickstart's going to try to hold him out, but it's going to be a quick flick coming up from back behind this. Finally, Zenith Esports coming through. They are going to go down. Fabled manages to hold it together for so long, but the cost has been massive.
Yeah, absolutely. What plays is there? And ultimately, by the way, Liberate made that push on the south side. Ascendant came in on the same push as well, and it looks like they may be the final survivors as it's Guabi over there trying to dig out the last of the blue.
Yeah, I mean, this is just its own independent mess, and it looks like Molotov's going to come through with a couple of shots. Maji's going to be the last man standing back over onto this angle. As well, it looks like Shrimsy did go down for Sonics off in the distance. So there's two solos hiding out that aren't inside of Severny, but everybody else is just duking it out over there.
That is the supplies and vehicles from 3 different teams, possibly 4 actually, that all crashed on the same spot. But now it's not a bad spot in the circle to have, theoretically. Everyone else has made it inside of the white ring, as they all will be able to heal up a little bit, maybe stare at each other, and see what happens next.
So Clueless is running a very interesting strategy. They've got 2 of their members that are right over here next to Fable. They have a secondary member that's playing Shuru over on the other side. That's closer where we see T8. Oath is doing a similar strategy. You can see Snakers and Reload together all the way back down to south, and Pat Caps on the other side of this. With the circle pop, that means the fact that Pat Caps is endangered where he's at, and Oath is endangered because the remnants at the top of where we see Fabled and Clueless going to have to be pushing back over down towards the south. Oddly enough, Ascendants and Sonics are kind of safe in position. They're both inside the circle.
Yeah. Sonic's in a plume of smoke and hope as they lock it up. TC's going to have to go head-to-head with Fable at some point, and Fable looks like they are trying to send a message with that barrel. Rip getting the peek out the right side. Greg shot was picked back up. So those two players, the survivors of that crazy crash on the north of Sev. Lush and Zealot, the last two members for Tactical 8, who, remember, this was a lot. They started on military, and they went all the way around the outside, through Georgia Pole and along the northern coast to get to here in the final 7.
There are so many people stacked around this last remaining couple of houses that are inside of Severny. Doing a quick count. Looks like we have probably about 4.5 buildings that are in play to work around. Looks like Fables are going to start trying to make the push back over next to Oath. Remember, there are the solos that can potentially take a couple of pot shots in on this, but they are not watching this angle. They're just hunkered down trying to survive. Oath still trying to look back over to what's going on with Clueless and the reposition back behind them. So now slowly creeping over. Craig Shot's got to play this carefully. Relo looks like he has a read on what's going on, but I think that they might hear the footsteps back and forth between it. Reinforcements now coming in for Fable, both just opting to play that outer wall. Keep in mind, that wall is not in play, so quick peek back around the side of this. Relo's going to go ahead and get the shots, but it's still going to be Greg Shot up and aware. I think that he knows where
Greg.
The last member is. Expecting maybe a res to come through, trying to find the peek for it. Goes for the jump shot that gives away position. Greg has to play this so carefully. Goes for the spray, tries to go for the drop shot, but it's got to be Oath that comes up on top.
Snaker's going to possibly get the res if he moves very quickly before the close. Pat Caps does go down as he was dug out of his compound by the push. This is the only 4-man left on the map right now, Matcham.
All right, so let's see the positioning setup right now. One eye open, trying to get a little bit more aggressive, stepping out of the trench that they were playing back over towards the east, moving into Severny proper. They have to play this very carefully. T8 has a lot of different angles to play on. Delta having to run away, literally on fire right now, trying to survive through this one. New hunker down positions. The circle's going to pop yet again. This means the fact that there is still going to be a smidgen of Severny still in play, and it's going to be what everybody is fighting over, and it's going to be the complexes that you can see one eye open already holding down.
Wow, Ascendant has been sort of just clinging on to the edge of this thing so far. They're going to start to crawl in, but it's going to come into how does one eye open? Do they lose people as they have to push here to dig out Tactical 8? And Oath is going to be watching this, looking to get a pick off or two as they come around the yellow house.
Yeah, Oath has got to try to figure out how they're going to make their cross. I wouldn't be surprised if they burned a lot of their utility based off of their positionings. T8, their complex is still in play as well. Maji's trying to make some type of play off in the distance. Seeing maybe he can get something out of that. Looks like he is going to be able to make it back over to the breakable shack, as you can see it exploding around him. That's never a comfortable feeling, but he at least does have a building complex to try. All right, he's got his vehicle that he can play for a little bit of cover. Oath is kind of the X factor. You can see how Oath is stacking out their smokes right now. They don't want to get involved in that firefight off to the side. Instead, it looks like they're going to send sneakers around to try to bring a vehicle through and do not run over your teammate. Hits the brakes perfectly to provide a little bit more support, but Oath is taking a lot of damage based off of Maji's positioning and specifically the firing line that's coming out from T8 and one eye open. Everybody is just focused back this direction. Snaker's the last one up, just popping out the tires, trying to make a lower profile so that way he does not get hit.
Oh, man. The car, crawl back.
Got to get away from the vehicle before it explodes. It's starting to smoke. He knows that it's trouble. Not a lot of options. And there we go. He's going to go down from a vehicle explosion. A little bit of damage now coming back over for this. Somehow, Maji is still alive, holding out inside of this field for so long. But one eye open sent one member over there to try to contest against him. One eye open is needing a ton of points. And let's be real, they have the numbers advantage here. They could take this round. They just have to be careful not to just creep too far away from where T8 is playing at.
Maji just sitting there saying thank you to the crash of the construction industry that left these cinder blocks here because they saved the crap out of everything and will probably guarantee him minimum second place. Nice Molly. Tactical 8 tried to make a play, but they are just getting rooted out of every option.
Oh, it's going to be Maji that actually inflicts the damage back over towards him. Winlow's going to pick it up. And then there was one. Maji, you got nowhere to go. Trying to get some type of meds back up. This is a dangerous peak. No helmet. He's as good as dead. But there you go. One eye open, picking up a round win with 7 kills.